Welcome to Adventures in Producing. My name is Wendy Mitchell. I'm a film journalist and festival consultant, and I've always admired the work of independent film producers. They're some of my heroes, and I think we don't get enough of the spotlight, and I think we don't understand enough of what they do. So that's why I'm talking to some of them here. Our guest for this episode is Emily Morgan of Quiddity Films, which is a UK production company. She's a BAFTA and BIFA winner. I've known her for quite a while. I think most people watching might know mostly firstly from I Am Not a Witch by Rungano Nyoni, which went to Cannes and was a huge hit. Claire Oakley's Makeup. I really loved Harry Macqueen's Supernova with Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci. Really love that one. She's also worked as a co-producer or a producer on Do Not Hesitate, working with Element and Searchlight on Chevalier. And we were talking to her just before Cannes 2023, where she has the Latin American co-production, The Settlers, going to Uncertain Regard, which is so exciting. So Emily, first of all, I can't believe you're making time to talk to me as Cannes is looming. Thank you so much.
It's an absolute pleasure, Wendy. Well, likewise, I've always admired your work, so I would happily do this for you. So thank you.
I should say Emily was also one of our Screen Stars of Tomorrow way back in 2015. So now she's a star of today. So can you just start by telling us, how did you get your start in the film industry? Did you always think producing might be the right thing for you?
Well, I got my start. I originally thought I wanted to be an editor. And when I first started being obsessed with cinema, I didn't really know what all the different roles were because I had no, family connection. I didn't know anyone who worked in film or TV or anything. So yeah, it was a gradual process of being obsessed with film and then working out what the roles were. And I first thought editing would be my thing. And then I moved from that. I sort of changed my mind a bit and moved into distribution. And then I realized I actually would like to be on set more. So I worked in production and started as a kind of freelancer on set. And then it was when I went to the NFTS to do the producing MA that I think I really cemented what would be my future, which was as a sort of start to finish producer, really.
Obviously, the NFTS is the National Film and TV School here in the UK. For people who don't know, it's an amazing, one of the best film schools in the world. I've never actually talked to anybody on this series about, what was the sort of approach to producing that you learned at the NFTS, or what do you think you got out of going to the NFTS for their producing MA?
Well, what's amazing about it is it's a complete overview. So you're making films, so hands-on production stuff, pulling together shorts and shooting them and working with, people who are doing the equivalent course in all the different departments at the NFTS. I think that's what's really special about the school, is that it's got, a whole course for cinematography, a whole course for production design, producing, was a lot of film schools do a sort of more general filmmaking MA or courses, and so I loved how specialized it was in my chosen area. And so you're doing the practical side of filmmaking, and then there's modules in film history, and then there's modules about the film business and development and the legals, and so it's just a complete overview of everything you may come across one day as a producer. And I've ended up sort of continuing to dip into all areas, but then I know there's others who then realized what their passion was in development or whatever, and then went off and specialized in that. So the overview is what I got, and obviously making a load of short films and having a body of work, and I think finding my voice as a filmmaker, or really discovering the kind of projects I wanted to enable creatively moving forward.
Yeah. By the way, I absolutely think producers are filmmakers. So I always say that as like a general term. It's not just a director who's a filmmaker. From the NFTS, and you've done some shorts there. I mean, how did you end up? I think the first time I knew you professionally was when you were working at Soda Pictures.
Yeah.
Was that NFTS straight to Soda? I'm sure I'm probably missing a few years.
Yeah, there was, I think, well, before the NFTS, I'd obviously worked in distribution for Studio Canal, and that as a receptionist, that's how I started out there. And then I'd also worked in production, like this amazing line producer, Rachel Dargaville, took me under her wing, and I went on to a few films with her, like Andrew Haig's Weekend. And so I'd already sort of been in the industry before. So then when I came out of the NFTS and was, really needing to earn some money pronto, I did another production role and started working with Janine Marmer at Hot Property Films. So I was a production manager on Brand New You for her, and then actually ended up then staying with her at the company, and my role expanded to being associate producer because I've sort of followed through on delivery and things. And then I also started working for, I think it was when I was still at the NFTS, for Film London on their short scheme. And then it was, I met Eve and Francis from Soda Pictures when they were looking for a production manager to go out and work in Brazil on an artist project that they had going. And so that's how that relationship started. So again, it was like I got a job as a PM because of my production background, but then it evolved into more work and starting to even develop a slate of projects together.
I have to ask, what was the worst thing about being the receptionist at Studio Canal? Did people bring in scripts or to you? What was happening there?
Maybe because it was actually really good.
Okay.
I relished it. Yeah. It was so great being a fly on a wall in that company, where I'd go into the sort of DVD library, which one of my jobs was to sort of restock and organize that, and just, Pan's Labyrinth, Amores Perros, all these films that I'd, studied and loved. And suddenly there I was, it was the time of This Is England as well. I think it was coming out had come out just before I started. And seeing the filmmakers coming out, getting to know the team, seeing, watching all these films come through and being able to go into screenings of them. I felt pretty jammy actually in that job, even though I was picking up the phone and sending off parcels. And
this is a good attitude though. Yeah. Because, as we know, all the agents start in the mailroom, although do we have mailrooms anymore? Mm-hmm. But yeah, a good attitude that, you're in the right place and you can learn whatever job you're in. So when did you set up Quiddity?
So I set up Quiddity actually while I was at the NFTS in 2011. And it was actually so that I could rent equipment. I was doing some short films outside of the film school. And so to produce, it was Claire Oakley's first short, that it was very helpful to be able to sign up for accounts at camera rental places and claim back VAT on the spend in the budget. And so it was sort of even though I knew I wanted to do it one day, it had that kind of humble, practical beginning.
And what does Quiddity mean, or what does it mean to you? Why was that? And do you still like the name, even though it was your student days when you set up the company?
I actually do really like the name because it means I spent so long trying to find a name. And that's probably what delayed me about a year setting the company up, not being happy with anything I think of. And then I was reading a book and I saw the word quiddity, which means the essence of things. And I think it still rings true, really. I do like getting to the heart of things and finding truth or perceived truth. I do quite like it. Until people say to me, "Oh, what, like Quidditch from Harry Potter?" or "Oh, liquidity films," or So and I've realised that French people can't really pronounce it very easily.
That's even better.
Yeah.
I think it sounds like a fun word. It's like an uplifting word to me. So yeah. I know you've done a lot of training schemes or a lot of programs. I should go back up to the list. ACE, and you've been
Berlin Talent
Campus. Like all these kind of things. Is there any one of those that really sticks out that was really useful to you?
I think ACE really sticks out because it's still so useful, because I'm part of the network, and we had the annual reunion last month. That was amazing, and I've made some amazing relationships through that, you know, and you really get to know potential co-producers by spending a month away together, and then, but also you're tapped into a network to find co-producers who weren't in your initial cohort. And I think it's, yeah, I think it's a brilliant course. And I always think, I did Berlin Talent Campus when I first graduated from the NFTS, and it was, you know, and I really graduated hoping I could become an international producer of feature films one day. And so going to that and meeting, you know, so many people from so many different countries was perfect.
Great. And for people who don't do ACE, I think Iava, who I've mentored for a little bit, is quite similar, that you get this, you do a program, but it's really about meeting these people you're working with for decades. I saw some pictures on Facebook of that ACE reunion.
Yeah.
And it looks like I want to be crashing a reunion, even though I didn't do ACE. Looks quite fun. Let's just jump right into some of the films. So I Am Not a Witch, Rungano Nyoni, who I just saw is going to be on the main Cannes jury this year. You guys are both being reunion in Cannes. Quite a special film and quite a challenging film. You know, it's her debut film, correct? Debut feature.
Yeah.
How did you get hooked up with Rungano? How did you make that? How did you like package up that film? How did you get it financed? It just seems like such a feat.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. It was a huge learning curve because obviously it was my first feature film as well. And I think the overriding takeaway from it was learning what I don't know about making feature films. And, you know, in the years since then, I've definitely been able to fill those gaps through experience. But no, it was there was a lot of unknowns to contend with. And yeah, but we got there, and I'm so incredibly proud of it. And yeah, glad that I did it. And it came together. It had already been developed for a while by a French producer who'd spotted one of Rungano's short films. And I had been working with her partner, Gabrielle Gaucher, who was in my year at the NFTS, and she wrote the short film that we did as our first year film. So that's how we got to know each other. And then I began to partner with the French producer who'd already been developing the project, and the UK funders were, yeah, just incredibly supportive. So that's BFI, Film Agency Wales, and Film 4. So yeah, they all came on board and supported our production and supported our timeline to shoot before the rainy season started that year. And it was, yeah, we got there. Yeah.
Remind me what country you shot in.
It was all shot in Zambia.
Okay, Zambia. Yeah. Because you know you're shooting in Zambia, where a lot of foreign films are not made. I don't know if they make many local films either, but you know you don't have a sort of infrastructure that you would have other places. You've got kids in the cast. You've got first time director, first time producer. You know, how did you make it happen? Was it, you know, this is where I just could never be a producer, because I just don't understand how you create this amazing thing in a place where they're not used to making films. So yeah, what were some of the challenges of shooting in Zambia?
Well, I think it was only with hindsight that I realized we could have quite easily filled another year worth of prep and getting it ready to have had a smoother process. So I think it's my inexperience probably that got it made, that I felt it was feasible and we went for it. And I think, yeah, we just kept on keeping on, and I was learning a lot about the legals and closing the finance to get cash flow, and I had no idea that was going to be so involved, and now I know exactly what to expect, and the amount of time to put aside for it, which is never enough. But yeah, it was, I think that probably is it, that we got it made because we didn't know how impossible it potentially was.
Well done. Making the impossible happen. Let's jump on to Claire Oakley's Makeup, which was another brilliant debut feature from another amazing UK female filmmaker. So did you say you worked with Claire at the NFTS on some of, or you knew her from there?
Yeah, we met actually outside of the NFTS we'd had sort of parallel lives. I think she'd been coming in and picking up scripts to read for Dan McRae at Studio Canal when I was on the reception desk, and we'd sort of not, and then we finally met and realized we had a kind of shared taste, really. And we got along well, and then she wrote a script then we got funding for I mean, that was the irony. I went to the NFTS thinking, oh, it's so hard to get short film funding, I'll go to the NFTS and, you know, make a load of short films, but then did get Film London short film funding with Claire while I was there, so it made the time very busy. But it was the beginning of a really fruitful and great working relationship that we're still continuing now.
Good. So yeah, are you working with her on something else?
Yeah, we've got the next thing in development, although she keeps thinking she's so busy with TV stuff at the moment. But now we've got to find time for our projects as well.
Next one I want to talk about is Supernova by Harry Macqueen, which I think is such a brilliant film. I mean, it did get some great reviews and great attention, but I still think it didn't get quite enough attention in my book. Partly because it's, you know, got our favorite people in the world, Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci in it, playing a couple, and it's so moving. What was it like for you to jump up to work with talent of that level?
They're such gents. They were amazing. And, you know.
And they're friends, right? In real life.
They're friends. They were very up for the project and going to that part of the UK and doing a two-hander, meaning they would be, you know, they were so supportive and up for the project that helped massively. And also they're wonderful people who weren't patronizing, even though they could be, and they were incredibly respectful of Harry and his process and how he wanted to work. And I was also really lucky because I took the project to the bureau when we were packaging it, when, you know, Harry and I had started the script, and then we went and partnered with the bureau, and so that was great, you know, working with.
Is that Tristan Gallagher?
Yeah. So he'd worked with you know, stars before, yes, in a way that I hadn't, and so that was also great to have his support on that front.
You shot it in the Lake District, so how much did it rain?
It rained so much during the prep. I mean, we were terrified that it would never stop and that we'd never get any shots without rain. It was sort of, the month before we started filming, it just did not stop raining. And so, but then luckily, by some miracle, the sun came out on our first day of shoot. I might be completely inventing that, but no, my memory is that it
remember it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Did Stanley Tucci make you a Negroni?
He did, an incredible pasta.
Oh.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So I'm probably imagining not the Negroni. Definitely cocktails were had.
Okay, good.
It was amazing.
And then how did you get hooked up with I think it's a Dutch film, Do Not Hesitate. Is it Sharif Corver?
Yeah, exactly. So I'd been going back and forth to the Netherlands to work with for Rotterdam Film Festival, actually, reading for the Hubert Bowles Fund and doing the selection meetings, and then also reading for Cinema Art. And that meant I was sort of having coffees with Eric and Leontine, who I knew from festivals. And then it's just one of those nice things where then they're actually, we've got a project that we might need a producer to go and be on the ground for. And it also timed well with Brexit, where I really wanted to leave the UK and become a European producer, or continue as a European producer. And so I actually did leave the UK and base myself out of Amsterdam for a couple of years until partway through the pandemic. And I have now come back and made London my base, and it was sort of too much to stay away, given how many of my collaborators and family and stuff are here in the UK. I have sort of made it my base, but I definitely made my stand for a couple of years there.
Well done.
Yeah.
I know you also worked, you were a co-producer for Element Pictures and Searchlight on Chevalier, which I haven't seen yet. It's not out in the UK quite yet. This is directed by Stephen Williams, and that shot in Prague. Is that right? Or some of it did?
Yeah, exactly. The whole shoot was in Prague, and I was there for the whole shoot for Element on the ground, and it was a really brilliant experience actually working with them and working on a period film, and obviously way bigger budget than anything I've worked on before, and also working with Searchlight as the studio. So it was, it was a brilliant experience, and I'm excited that it's coming to cinemas here in June.
Right. With that, I mean, just working on one of those sort of bigger studio level for, shooting in Prague, is that something you think you got a taste for? Do you think you'll do more of that scale, or?
Yeah, I think that's why it was such a brilliant experience, because I would love to scale up one day through my own company. And so to date, I've sort of kept my slate quite small and my overheads low and stayed quite nimble with, and if one of my projects doesn't go, I can go off to the Netherlands and, work on a film for Lemming, or do that in Prague for Element. And I really love the producer for hire work, as well as getting my own projects off the ground. And in the future, I could well look to, grow my own company and have more of a pipeline and a team, and to sort of have more projects going into production. But let's see, who knows.
And we have to, of course, talk about The Settlers. This is is it Felipe Gálvez?
Yeah, Felipe Gálvez.
Felipe Gálvez. It's sold by MK2. It's coming to Cannes on Certain Regard. I guess your second time in Cannes.
Yeah,
selection, that is. This one's in the big Uncertain Regard section. How did you learn and get involved with a Latin American co-production? And I don't know anything really. I've tried not to learn too much about this film, so you can tell me, what's it about, The Settlers?
Well, in many ways it's actually sort of my dream project, and kind of the culmination of everything I sort of dreamt of, from, like I was saying, starting at Studio Canal and looking through those Latin American films in the DVD library as a receptionist. And because I studied Spanish and Portuguese originally, and I always dreamt of making films internationally, and particularly Spanish speaking films and in Latin America. And so content wise, it's, and it's a natural co-production. So it's about these British guys who were in Patagonia at the turn of the century, tasked with cleansing the lands, as it were. And in terms of how it came about, it was also it's also with a producer, an amazing Argentinian producer called Benjamin Dominic, who from Rey Chine, who I've known for years, actually since my Soda Pictures days. And we've just always stayed in touch, swapped projects. And then it was perfect timing when he sent me this, to see if I thought there could be anything to be, any finance to be raised in the UK, because there was potentially British actors in the film. And it was just at the time that the Global Screen Fund was launching. And so I was able to submit to that, and then also raise some match funding for it. And again, in terms of dream come true, the Global Screen Fund has also been amazing for me, because the BFI International Fund never felt that. I think it was not a huge amount of money for much, very established world-class international filmmakers, rather than the sort of, a project like this that I was, really keen to be involved with and grow through, to one day be able to apply for those higher budget films. So it's great that it got selected, and off we are to Cannes.
And did it shoot in Chile, in Argentina? Where did it shoot?
Yeah, it was all shot in Tierra del Fuego. And then Mark Stanley and Sam Spruill from the UK went over to be in the film.
Wow, I can't wait to see it. Do you get nervous before a film? I mean, it's Cannes, especially before a film is going to have its world premiere.
I do get nervous, because you do want it to be, well received. I am, I do feel optimistic about this one. And so, when I see it myself on the big screen, I watched it the other week, and I'm so I also feel like whatever happens, I don't care because I feel so proud of it. So I get nervous, but I also, I've definitely moved beyond feeling. I value the process so much,
Yeah.
actually. And this again was such a great process. You know, I really loved working on it and the team and what we've achieved myself. So before I almost kind of, I like it before it's even gone out into the world, because then I can just have that that feeling.
Yeah, you keep it, but I think it's been selected for Cannes. This is a good sign.
Yeah.
And I guess you also shot in Greece for Swimming Home, which Justin Anderson directs based on the Deborah Levy book. Is that right? Did that shoot all in Greece or mostly in Greece?
Yeah, the whole shoot. It's a swimming pool film basically, and all set on a family holiday, and takes place largely in their villa. So it was all shot in Greece, and we worked with the amazing guys at Heretic on the shoot. And yeah,
I love those guys.
yeah,
Out to
yeah.
Heretic.
And actually, Lemming. So what was nice, the relationships I developed working with Lemming on Do Not Hesitate. We'd shot that on Crete with Heretic, and so the same team has come back to co-produce on Swimming Home.
Oh. And Swimming Home is in post right now. We're talking in May 2023. It's in post now.
Yeah, exactly. Final stage of the post, so it'll be ready this summer to try and send it out into the world.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you separately about some festivals I work for. You're working a lot with the UK, but then you also have these international horizons that I think not every UK producer does. I mean, how is that just sort of organic within you that you're really interested in doing this global work, or is it, you know, something you're actively seeking out that you want to do more international collaboration? How does that sort of work for you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think just this international aspect to my work is something that's been there on a personal level and sort of been the fabric of my being since I was a kid, really. The things I always loved most at school were languages, and I've always wanted to travel, and then I discovered film and was, you know, so obsessed with it from a young age, and then it's combining the two. Really, it's just been a natural thing to me for forever. And I've realized that I've made, I suppose all the films I've made are quite different, but there's one thing that unites them all, and that it's always about people who are in an environment that isn't their home environment, and they're sort of they're displaced somehow and going through something a bit intense, which I guess also mirrors what has happened to me so often in my life.
Yeah.
It's all quite meta, because then the films do that to me. So yeah, anyway.
Yeah, what's coming?
So yeah, obviously Swimming Home, we're in final stages of post, so that will should be coming out at some point later this year. But then I'm also in pre-production on Joy Gahora's debut feature, who people may well know from her producing work on Blue Story and Boxing Day. But we've been developing her own feature film script that she's writing and directing, and hoping to shoot over the coming year.
Amazing. Another hot British talent. Yeah, I think of Joy mostly as a producer, so I'll be keen to see her on a different role.
It's going to be.
I always end these by asking people two questions. So the first is, do you have any pet peeves on set of things you don't like people doing?
The thing I sort of do struggle with sometimes is when people, it can sometimes get a bit, that's not my department, or this, and I just sort of want this more idyllic scenario where we're all in it together and everybody's helping out, and sometimes it does veer away from that and the sort of blame shifting, but that's one thing. And then the other thing that's tricky sometimes is when people come with preconceptions about producers, and it's nice hearing you say that we are filmmakers and we are all the same, and it's not and we're not all bad.
No. And yeah, what do you think people misunderstand about what a producer really does?
I think there is. I mean, there's the age-old cliche of like, oh, it's just money, 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 and don't care about quash any creativity. But yeah, that's obviously a complete misunderstanding. But yeah, I think also because we sort of are, and we do kind of do everything and nothing, and so it's just a nebulous, and then the producers are the credits are often given away quite, it's sort of, a credit is no quantifying how much work that person's done. So I think maybe the whole thing kind of can be a bit diluted sometimes, or nebulous, and people don't, there's just not a clarity to the role, which is the same even when you are a producer. You never really know exactly what you're doing or what you should be doing. Yeah.
No, a producer can do a little bit of everything, but I think you're right. Yeah, there's like true producers, true creative producers who are there every step and make the films happen. And that's very different than somebody who, gives 10 grand and wants an exec producer credit or something. So Emily, I want to wish you best of luck in Cannes. I'll see you out there. Thank you so much for talking to us. And yeah, good luck with the films that are coming up, and good luck keeping that global outlook in the UK. Thanks for doing that.
Thanks so much.
Brexit isn't the end of us.
No, it's not.